Does a stronger national government mean weaker states? Well, in Federalist number 45, James Madison answers with one of the most quoted lines in American political history. He writes, "The powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Those which are to remain in the state governments are numerous and indefinite." This essay is the heart of American federalism, the promise that power can be shared without being stolen. I'm Matt Hasquin. I'm a high school history and civics teacher, and I'm talking about the Federalist Papers, and we're taking a trip through all 85 of them, and right now we're to number 45. By 1788, many Americans still feared that the new Constitution would turn their hard-won independence into just another form of monarchy. Only this time it would be centered in Philadelphia instead of London. Madison reassures them that the Constitution doesn't erase state authority. It preserves it by giving the Union just enough power to protect everyone's freedom. Madison argues that the federal government's powers exist only where unity is essential in defense, foreign policy, interstate harmony, and national welfare. Everything else, education, property law, local justice, daily governance, all those remain in the hands of the states. He writes, "The state governments will have the advantage in the ordinary course of affairs." So in other words, the everyday lives of citizens still belong to local hands. Madison reminds readers that state governments are closer to the people. They collect taxes, they enforce laws, they run schools, they regulate commerce, and they protect property. They are the first and most familiar guardians of liberty. Now, the federal government, by contrast, acts mainly when collective action is required: war, peace, or trade. This division of labor, according to Madison, makes both systems stronger. Now, Madison rejects the idea that national and state powers are enemies. He feels that they are partners in the same project. The federal government depends on the states for elections, law enforcement, and even military organization. Now, states will depend on the Union, the national government, for peace, for credit, and defense. He says the state governments may be regarded as constituent and essential parts of the federal government. So, this is not competition, it's cooperation. Now, Madison notes that history's real danger isn't national strength. It's actually national weakness. The Articles of Confederation failed because the states hoarded power, leaving the Union unable to defend itself. The Constitution corrects that error without repeating the opposite one. It gives the national government enough strength to preserve the states, not to replace them. So, Madison will then turn to philosophy in this essay, and he says, liberty survives best when power is divided but coordinated. A single all-powerful government invites tyranny. 13 competing governments invite chaos. And so the Constitution splits sovereignty so that each level of government checks the other. You have a double security, as he called it in Federalist number 51, which is coming later on. Balance, not dominance, is the design. Now, Madison's logic here, his 5 reasons why. First, the federal government's powers are few, they are specific and national in scope. Second, the state's powers are numerous. They are also local and continuous. Thirdly, both depend on each other for stability and success. And fourth, liberty is preserved when power is divided and not concentrated. And finally, the Constitution strengthens, not weakens, the states. There's your summary for your homework assignment right there for 45. Now, Madison's overall tone, it's rather warm and it's measured. It's not defensive. It's almost parental in its voice, because he speaks to a nervous nation trying to calm fears with logic and perspective. His confidence comes from faith in human nature, that citizens will always trust the government they see most often, which is their state. That proximity keeps power accountable. Now, Madison's moral insight is that freedom requires scale and intimacy at once. A A large republic protects rights through strength. Local government, those local governments will nurture that belonging through familiarity. Now, the genius of the Constitution is that it gives Americans both, right? It protects through strength and then that nurturing through familiarity. So, today, 45 impacts us, with every modern debate that we have, from education to healthcare to policing to climate policy. It still lives inside this balance that Madison has presented, because he reminds us that state power and national unity aren't opposites. They're actually complementary. And together, they form a system that's flexible enough to govern 330 million people without erasing the individuality of a single state. So our takeaways from 45 today would be: federal powers are limited to national purposes. States retain authority over most of daily life, and balance, not dominance, is the foundation of freedom. Federalist 45 is Madison's message of reassurance. It's a promise that strength and liberty can coexist. He teaches that government's purpose is not to centralize control, but to actually coordinate responsibility. Now, the Constitution won't exist to erase the states. Instead, it immortalizes the states. It binds them together in a union that can finally last. So, I'm Matt Hasquin. Another one of these things we should know by being alive, the 45th one, right? And if this particular episode helped you see how Madison built balance into freedom itself, please share, follow, repost, invite other folks to come along. But hang around, because we're on the downhill slide now. We're on that slope leading to the bottom, because we're going to be coming up with 46. It might be later today, maybe tomorrow. It's Veterans Day today, so I've got a little more time. But in 46, this is where Madison's back, and he explains how the people, not the politicians, remain the ultimate check on both state and federal power. Thanks for hanging around.